Não desampare esse país, Senhor. Ah, Senhor, Deus. Não desampare esse país, Senhor.
All right. That cold open there was labeled, when I saw it, as Bolsonaro supporters crying and praying because Lula won the election in Brazil. So if there's ever anything to file under the category, if you love to see it, I think that would be that. All right. So I am joined by J. Andrew World, who drew that wonderful goat drawing for the thumbnail, by Jordan Dubin, who is anybody who was in Los Angeles last Sunday. She was off stage, but you may have heard Jason Miles talking about the tiny Jewish woman in his earpiece. That would be Jordan. Who's producing the show backstage, and Ryan Zickgraf, who's been on the Collins show before. I don't think he's been on the main show before, but he is the very best category of human being known to man, which is an Atlanta-based Jacobin columnist. So, the most of these people are here to talk about the VVitch, but Andy hasn't
nailed the pronunciation too.
That's the correct way to say it, right?
Yes.
That's but Andy, as far as I know, hasn't watched it recently, but
I got it spoiled for me, and I've been taking my time to let it leave my brain so I can watch it and be surprised by the ending.
Fair enough. So he is here because I think actually as I was watching the movie, I got a text from a friend saying that it's official that Lula da Silva won the election in Brazil, which is, I guess, this is going to be a weird tonal shift, but I do want to just say at the outset here is, I think, objectively big for the world, given the impact of the preservation of the Amazon and on global climate change. Not to even mention the fact that he, on everything from Lula president the first time, he invited in Cuban doctors. Bolsonaro kicked them all out just in time for the plague. Lula led Latin America in offering diplomatic recognition to Palestine, which Bolsonaro had the opposite effect on, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I think there are many ways in which it's objectively big for the world, but it's also just big for me, and wanted to do a just do a little quick toast to this because it's back in 2018, I started to, before I was on it, I started to listen to the Michael Brooks show, and I have to admit, the first 10 times or something he was talking about Lula on the show, there was a point I was like, oh my god, another Brazil segment. We've already done this so many times. Let's what's next, man. But then it was in his very charismatic way, Michael, kind of got me to be as obsessed with it for a while as he was, and first thing I wrote for Jacobin was about the imprisonment of Lula in Brazil, and at that point, the man was in prison. Now we just won the presidential election. I have been looking at these pictures of Michael meeting Lula and hugging Lula and just kind of just kind of on the edge of keeping together about all that. So just wanted to say before we do New England folklore, Yeah. Lula Presidente.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Ding dong, Bolsonaro's dead?
More or less.
Soon, maybe. Who knows?
We'll get COVID 5 more times.
Didn't mean literally.
Yeah.
I think he's been dead for a long time.
Inside.
And outside. Like, isn't he like rotting?
I mean, he's got COVID like 20 times, so I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, that what was that black stuff come out of his nose?
I haven't seen this.
Oh, one of the times
that
he was in
was-
the hospital, there's this tube going up his nose, and it looks like black stuff is coming out. And the online discourse was not pleasant. Let me just leave it there.
He caught a case of the Rudy Giuliani disease.
Oh, God. Did he have a spray tan, too? You don't need that in Brazil.
Very true.
Probably not.
Yeah. You know, I saw actually last night, Catherine Liu posted this in the way we use the phrase like bread and butter issues to mean like sort of immediate accessible issues about people's material conditions. The Brazilian equivalent apparently is beer and barbecue. They talk about beer and barbecue issues.
Beer and
Nice.
barbecue issues.
I could see that as like was it Pascal's pork fat and what is it? I can't remember that.
Fat
phrase.
back and biscuits.
Fat
Come
back
on.
and biscuits. There we go. Sorry. It's been a minute since I've heard him say that.
What do they say for guns and butter?
That I don't know. So, there's some,
Guns N' Roses.
yeah. You have trade-offs between between paying. Is there some kind of is it guns or barbecue? I don't know. It's a good question.
Pound de queijo. Those are good.
There you go. I like it. All right. I will also say I'm going to come very close to publicly shaming this person, but I'm not going to quite do it. There's somebody else I invited to come do this with us at the beginning, and it's not the person you would expect from this detail, who declined because he said he just took a giant bong rip and he doesn't trust himself to be on air right now. So
Noted.
Glenn Greenwald.
yes, that is. God damn it! I was hoping to keep Glenn's privacy, intact here. I don't know what his view is on all this now, but that is not something I care to dwell on. So I'm gonna switch to New England folk horror now. So Andy, I will see you very soon. Thank you again for the thumbnail, and
No problem.
all right. So yeah, VVitch. Yes, let's talk about the VVitch. So I'm actually curious. So I think everybody saw it before this.
I had a rewatch today with my dad, who immediately after said, "I didn't get it." I'm like, what don't you get? But okay, that's awesome.
I like it, Ryan.
I watched it with my wife a couple nights ago, and we'd seen it once before, and she left the room during the Black Phillip part at the end.
So she really didn't get it because she
No, it was too scary for her. Like
Yes.
once he starts whispering in her ear, like she's done.
Oh, not the part at the end, like Black Phillip goring the father. That was okay.
It was something about being in that quiet room and some strange man whispering into your ear.
That's
Triggered,
my favorite
probably.
part. I want to live deliciously.
Sounds nice.
Jordan, are you a witch?
No, as Ben noted, I'm just a fan of Satan. Satan admirer, I suppose.
Yeah, I
Okay.
think I said Satan enjoyer.
Enjoyer.
I wasn't quite sure how you'd want to be described, so I just thought that'd be a nice,
Nail
stand
on
in
the
there.
head.
Yeah. So as this movie opens, so it is the 1630s, and we're in some kind of Puritan colony in New England. I'm not sure they exactly say where, but
My guess was Virginia, but I just
Hmm,
throwing that out there. I had no idea.
okay, Yeah.
You got that from the accents? No.
Yes.
Those sound like 1630s Virginia accents.
Yeah, I spotted the birch trees in the background, and I noticed they were an eastern birch. No,
Yeah.
I don't know.
I like it. So yeah, it's so we're in some kind of Puritan colony, and it's just a, we start out, I think, like literally the opening shots, which as I was watching this, I had also watched it a few years ago. I don't remember exactly, but we were still living in New Jersey at that point. The first time I watched it, but I watched it again just now. Just finished like half an hour ago, and yeah. So I think as we start out, the daughter in this family, Thomason, who is, I guess she's a teenager at this point. But we see her, we're kind of looking at her face, and we're listening to her dad ranting, and we're in a courthouse. And it's very quickly established. I mean, there's a scene where, there's a shot there where you see all of the, like, just regular Puritans standing around looking grim. So we're already like, this is like first generation, kind of like, one of the characters, I think a couple of the characters mention having, been born in England, right? So these are the hardest core of the hardest core, the people who came over because, like, I mean, I don't know. I often like to think about the fact that, like Cromwell, those Puritans, those are the people who were like a little bit more moderate and stayed in England, and weren't just like, nope, fuck it, we're starting over from scratch. Right? Those are the really intense ones, and we're with them. So this is already like the 1630s, like, frontier Taliban that we're like starting in. And what we established with the trial scene is that the dad in this family, so William, is too hardcore to stay in the Puritan colony. That somehow or another, he thinks that they're not doing Calvinism, in a hardcore enough way, and so they're basically like, okay, are you going to stop complaining about the church here? He's like, nope. He's like, well, in that case, you have to go live in the wilderness. It's like, cool. All right, let's go.
This was old school cancel culture, by the way. Like,
yeah,
hardcore.
he like invented holier than thou.
Yeah. They were canceling before it was cool. They, burned people at stakes.
I like that line that he used, though. I think I wrote it down. I'm going to use it in the future. He says, I cannot be judged by false Christians. Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah. Because they say, like, he's like ranting and denouncing them, and like, they're like, we're the judges here.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we get to decide what happens to you. It's like, nope, you can't judge me.
He did the whole, like, you can't fire me. I quit. You can't banish me. I'm gone. I want to live in the woods with a witch.
Exactly. And we get, crucially, I mean, she doesn't have any speaking lines for a minute here, but crucially with Thomason, we make it very clear at the beginning, she is not crazy about the fact that they're leaving the plantation. She's sort of like looking back wistfully, and he's like, come on, let's go. What are you waiting for? Time to go live in the woods.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's all that excited about going to the woods.
Well, sure, but we're in her point of view. And,
yeah.
And it's...
I mean, because I'm in the woods right now, and I don't want to be here.
I can see that, yeah. Yeah, it's weird that the woods you're in are black and white.
So weird. The lighting in central Atlanta is very odd.
Fair enough.
Spooky. I like it. Halloween vibes. Filmed in Canada.
Yeah. So, okay, so they leave. and they build a new farm near right on the edge of the forest, about where Ryan is now. They have like a lot of the creepiest non-supernatural stuff in this movie is just the farmhouse next to this like bleak woods that just goes on forever, and as far as they know has nobody in it.
It's pretty scary. Why would you like tempt fate if you can't go into nature? Just like live right on the edge of it. Not a good call.
Yeah. So we should also say that Thomason, who we start with, is one of 4 children. 5 children.
5.
Yeah.
First count. Doesn't last long.
Yeah, exactly. But initially 5. There is Caleb, who's, I don't know, how old do you guys think Caleb is supposed to be?
Maybe like 9 or 10.
Oh, you think he's that young?
Yeah. I feel like she was supposed to be a preteen because they later say she's coming in to maybe
I was thinking he's more like 12.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing, I'm really bad at estimating kids' ages, honestly. But
I go to the grade school and do it all the time, but I keep getting kicked out.
just to stay in practice, yeah.
The
So
woods get lonely.
You make a bundle at the county fair every year.
just guess the age of the kids, that beloved county fair game we all know.
Guess the children.
But the one thing that does lead me to think that Ryan might be right about that is that it's it's not like they don't make a huge deal of it, but they're like very explicit at a few points that he's having a few passing incesty kinds of moments where he's like glancing over at his sister, and it again seems very incesty. So I don't know.
I was thinking that he could go around with that massive gun, but if you want to talk about the incest thing, go off.
He did look younger next to the musket. That was cute. But yeah, adulterous glances, lustful.
Yeah, it wouldn't be adulterous, but
yeah, incesty. That's the
incesty. Excuse me.
Yeah, incesty glances. Yeah, there are a few of those. So that leads me to think he's not too prepubescent, but in any case, that's Caleb. There are also the twins who are significantly younger than Caleb. So
where do you put them, Ryan?
Oh yeah,
I'm gonna say 5 and 6.
The different age twins. That's impressive. How does that happen?
They're not.
One of them was born just after midnight. One of them was left.
Irish. They're Irish twins. They're Irish twins from Britain.
Ah, okay. That clarifies everything.
That definitely explains it. Okay. So they're either 5 or 6.
I'm saying this because I'm an Irish twin. My brother is 11 months younger than me.
And he's in England still to this day.
No, he's in Illinois.
So your brother,
the Ireland of the Midwest.
I don't think I know what this phrase means.
Irish twins.
I just learned it now.
Yes. Okay. If you and your sibling are less than a year apart.
Oh, then you're Irish twins. Okay.
Yes.
Damn.
I suppose that's possible. So they're somewhere. They're walking around, talking and singing, but they're significantly younger than Caleb is. And then finally, there is Samuel, and Samuel is a newborn, and certainly a baby. They specifically mention him being unbaptized, although I've got to say I'm not totally clear what these people's baptism practices are.
I guess
But I think
someone would have to
circumcised.
help. Sorry, circumcised. They managed to circumcise him, but not to sprinkle water on his head.
Yeah.
No, I think he
Priorities.
needs like a church for that, or
Okay.
someone who's ordained.
Could be. Yeah, this is a lacuna in my knowledge of 17th century Puritans, but they do specifically say that at one point that he's unbaptized, and it definitely leads to, for my money, the most awesomely creepy conversation in the whole movie. But in any case, so Thomason is out outside. She's taking care. She's with Samuel. She's playing peekaboo with him, and literally, and in like 2 seconds, Samuel just disappears, and the official family theory is that he was taken by a wolf in 2 seconds without any sign of him, which doesn't make a lot of sense, but there you go. That's what they that's what they say, and this is sort of the beginning of everything, like really, really, really sucking for these people. That you see that the corn is diseased, and there's a real issue about how they're going to get enough food for winter. Catherine, the mother, is you see her just kind of crying and and praying like a Bolsonaro supporter upset about Lula winning.
Wait, did you say though that their lives are just now beginning to suck? Because
I said really, really, really suck.
Okay, really, really sucking, because
I mean, because there's a baseline at which their lives probably really sucked when they were still living in the colony.
Because they were 17th century people that were like, fundamentalist Christians, and like the most healthy of them probably living to age 43.
Sure, that sounds about right. I would actually love to know how old the parents are supposed to be. Like that really feels like a Hans Moleman thing, that they're probably like both about 25.
Oh wow, it could be. She looks like an old 25.
No,
Maybe.
they both do, is the point, right? I mean, they both look like life has just ravaged them. But then again, this is the 1630s, so God knows, right?
Just that boat
33.
trip.
Sorry.
Just boating across the Atlantic in the Mayflower, man. It's a lot.
It's where the crow's feet start to set in real fast.
Totally. And the
but
scurvy.
He's so Jesus-y. I figured he has to be 33-ish. Not older than that.
There you go. So there's because so yeah, I think you're sure, absolutely baseline. You're a fundamentalist in the 1630s. Life is terrible, all around. But then you're no longer.
I was a fundamentalist in the 1990s, and that was rough. Damn. So. Yeah, you're of the devil. I'm of Jesus. I'm of God.
Of God, I'm chosen. Excuse me, Ben's half chosen.
Oh no, I've been cast out again. The woods. I've been cast out.
Were
by
you
the Christians.
banished?
Yeah, because I had better ideas, and they were not having it.
Fair enough. So, in this case, they. They're already living on their own out in the woods. Very not great. And then the baby mysteriously disappears. They spend a lot of time searching. Of course, they don't find anything. We know what happened because we see this hideous crone. She's probably like 36 or something. And you see her with the baby and being creepy and taking out a knife, and there's some blood later. So
I love that they spare you that like murder, but then spend a long time with the like baby-sized mortar and pestle. She's making like baby gazpacho. That was a longer scene than it needed to be, but I think I got the message across.
Fair.
Baby gazpacho.
Yeah.
What's weird is I heard on conservative talk radio that scene was also duplicated at Paul Pelosi's house the other night.
Oh. There you go.
Some weird's going on over there.
Exactly.
Yeah. Like the just shout out to Zeg for the Hans Bullman reference. But yeah. So we see what happens to the baby. They don't know what happens to the baby, but they're pretty sure that one way or the other he's dead. And so William takes his son Caleb out into the woods to try to hunt for some food. You see this just like awesomely primitive gun setup where he's like, I think like William's holding the rifle and Caleb has to like light the string, so it takes like a good 30 seconds for this to theoretically shoot if it had worked, which it didn't in this case.
No.
Yeah, that was like half the casualties of the Revolutionary War and that kind of stuff happened.
Misfire in your eye. That's what happens when you try to shoot like a Satan hair, though. Should have known better.
It was a Satan hair.
Yeah. Satan hair.
Fair enough. And while they're out there hunting the Satan hair, this is what I was thinking of as the most awesomely creepy scene of the movie, where William, there comes a point where where your son is, I don't know, 10 or 12 or however old he is, and you have to have the talk with him about predestination. And because he says, my baby brother who just died, is he in hell? And
he's like, oh, this is a tough one.
Yeah, maybe. I can't rule it out because they're just going through. Look, it's your nature is irredeemably corrupt, and God just sort of chooses as an act of will. It's not based on you deserving it in any way or anything you do, even your sort of attempts to feel faith or anything like that. God just chooses to invest certain people with salvation, and maybe your baby brother was one of those. And he says, well, okay, if I die tomorrow, am I going to be in hell? And he's like, maybe. Are you listening? Right? It's possible. I mean, I would look. I marvelous love you. I will that I could tell you that you would sleep with sleep in Jesus if you die. But yeah, I don't want to lie to you, kid.
But you get baptized, so your odds are maybe a little bit better. But no, we'll forget about your brother. I like that part too. He's like, don't bring him up again. It's fine. Never mind.
We are raised so soft because like when we're that age, we were taught Santa Claus was going to come and bring us all presents, and instead 400 years ago they're like, your baby brother's going to hell.
Yeah. Definitely.
That's what
I don't know. I know some Catholics that kind of got that talk as well in their youth. Like it stuck around a little bit, but back in the day it was worse. They didn't have Santa Claus then, as far as I know.
Post-Vatican II Catholics are pretty soft on that. Like there's even the sort of like there's the what do they call it? It's the baptism by desire, which basically says like, maybe you could be a Jew or whatever, and if you're like a good enough person, then maybe Jesus will give you a pass. Like that's that is so much softer than the 1630s Puritan theology is getting.
Fair enough.
I'm assuming there was a lot of conservative dads watching this and be like, more people should be like the dad from The Witch. That guy was onto something.
I read that as fan fiction. I'm like, that's weird. All right. Fornication. What did the baby ever do to redeem themselves? The baby was born a sinner, and they had no choice and no chance for redemption. So baby definitely went to hell. I think we can put that to bed.
Yeah, fair. So
Well, okay. So I will
Okay.
say that when I was in fundamentalist church growing up, they talked about something called the age of accountability. And it was this sort of mysterious number that was sort of the tipping point of when you were allowed to go to hell. So we were a little softer.
That's
No, for real.
thoughtful.
Yeah.
The age. What age is that? Is it like bar mitzvah age?
No, it was like only God would know.
Oh,
Oh,
I see.
But you had something to think about.
Okay, so you have to keep them on their toes. They might have hit the age of accountability already. They're not sure.
Dude, when I hit like 10 years old, I was sweating.
oh yeah.
Yeah. I remember I had a ex-girlfriend who grew up in a very intense church in Idaho who told me once that she remembered being at Bible camp when she was, I don't know, 10 or 12 or something. And people encouraging her to get baptized right then and there, because instead of like waiting for her parents to be around and everything, because you never know, you could get hit by a truck. And you know, you wouldn't want to take that risk, which is confusing to me because what I'd always understood about sort of Protestant theology was that it was just about your state of mind. But I don't know.
When I was a kid, we had this church event every year, and it's called Heaven's Gates and Hell's Flames. No, seriously.
That is a fun event for the kids, yeah?
Yeah. And the whole thing was a bunch of different scenarios through which, like, it was all about people dying and then showing if they were going to go to heaven and hell. So it was sort of like, okay, God's not going to tell you all of the rules, like a lot of rules, but not all the rules about who gets in and who gets out. So we're going to give you scenarios, you know, like to see where you fit in, to see if you're going to go to heaven or hell.
That's so funny.
Like,
wow.
Awesome.
Do you remember any like ones that stuck with you?
Oh yeah, there was two construction workers sitting high on one of those cross beams, eating lunch, and then one of them, he hates Jesus, he hates God, but the dude preaches to him, and he's like, okay,
GTA viewer.
Yeah. He's like, I'm down. You know, let's say this prayer. So he becomes saved. There's like a halo around him, but all of a sudden, like lightning strikes and they fall off the crossbeam and die. But he goes to heaven because he says the prayer like 2 seconds before he dies. Genius.
If you're having a sinful thought while you die, you're definitely going to hell, right? That's what they told you at that camp. Just pray all the time.
Well, this is I mean, this is certainly the historic. Well, actually, I guess I'm not sure. So I'm just remembering in Hamlet, there's a scene where he's about to kill his wicked uncle because he has this like golden opportunity because he's like praying, and so he's defenseless, and then he says in his like little soliloquy, no, I shouldn't do this because if I kill him right now, he's going to go to heaven. So I should wait, you know, till he's doing something sinful. Granted, that might have been Shakespeare making fun of Catholicism. I'm not sure.
That's awesome.
But
I must have missed that part in Hamlet. I don't remember. It's been a while.
yeah, sorry, Janos. Good point. That is a spoiler for Hamlet. I remember. God, whatever that Great Gatsby movie came out, Jay McInerney wrote an essay in like Slate or Salon, one of those places, that was why the Great Gatsby, you know, he thinks is like unfilmable, can't be turned into a good movie. And I still remember one of the comments at the end of that article was like mad that McInerney didn't include a spoiler alert for the Great Gatsby. So I guess, you know, Hamlet's.
Well,
not too far up.
We might be spoiling the Bible during this podcast, so I hope
that's true. I mean, somebody could just be, you know, somebody could still, you know, could still be in the Jew part. They haven't even gotten to the glorious redemption that has infused the lives of these people in 1630s with so much joy, as you can see in this movie.
It's a long book and nobody reads anymore.
Fair. It is funny. For something I just wrote for Jacobin. I don't know if this part will like make it into the final draft of the article, but there's I think I mentioned this in Capital Class today. There was there's this article in the New Republic that was like, free speech is really bad, actually, basically, and was talking about it in the Jacobin piece. And in the New Republic article, one of their examples of free speech is really bad anyway was that, well, wouldn't it have been better if Mein Kampf had been censored in Weimar Germany, because they said it was a key contributor to the rise of Hitler and all the things happened because of that. And I ended up looking this up, and at least according to William Scherer, the author of The Rise and Fall of the Third Reich, nobody read that book. That was like before, like it was published in 1925 in Hitler comes to power, depending on where you count it, in 32 or 33. Just before he comes to power, there's like enough interest because of Hitler's rising star and people reading his book that it sells like maybe almost 100,000 copies, but like not even that. It only becomes a bestseller after Hitler is in power. And even at that, it seems like people are buying it because it's like a sort of way to signal your enthusiasm for the new regime. But at least according to Scherer, a lot of Nazis would privately admit that they couldn't get through it because it's like a really badly written book.
That's so sad.
You just have to
book tour. That's what a shame.
You just have to read the Kempf notes.
There you go.
Sorry.
Also, crucially, during this conversation between William and Caleb out in the woods, William admits to Caleb that he sold his wife's silver cup
it's a chalice.
Traded it to some Indians. So this is going to be an important plot point later on, and there's also a hushed conversation that Thomason overhears about somehow sending her off to another family,
selling her. I think they even say, which was probably common at the time, but still a bit jarring to hear about yourself.
Sure, yeah.
Wait, was it actually selling though, or is it just like, here, take her off my hands and let her be your handmaiden for a few years till we can afford her again?
I think that it's more like part of her growing up into womanhood, learning how to be a domestic goddess, as one does in that time period. And I don't know, would anyone take a banished girl anyway? Like, that's a tough sell.
Wasn't indentured servitude like pretty cool at the time? And often it was like a set like 7 years or something, and then you just like, I don't know, went home.
I think so. But also in England back in the day, even in middle, like upper class families, a lot of the time a woman would go and serve in the household of a richer family. This was like a status thing as well.
Fair enough. So
Free au pair.
Free au pair. Something to put on the resume.
Yeah.
So fair enough. So later, Thomason finds Caleb at the stable, is preparing to go out into the forest to check a trap, which is important that's what he's doing. He's not going off on his own initiative. Clearly, William, sent him to do this. And then Thomason gets him to take her with him, which is which is not great because for her, because it contributes to her being in the wrong place, the wrong time during everything bad that happens in this movie. She was the one who was playing with the baby when Samuel disappeared, and this means that she's out with Caleb when she's on the horse, and Caleb goes chasing after, I believe it's the devil hair again.
Indeed.
Yeah, the devil hair again. I just wanted to mention before that, like, I think before this scene, Thomason goes to fetch eggs as well. You remember
Yes.
that part?
Yep.
That's
Oh,
so
yeah.
bizarre. And she like picks up an egg, decides to put it back because it's fertilized, but it drops. And there's just like
it's a pretty. I mean, it's the most grotesque. Like, this is like a really lurid. Like, if there were, well, actually, I remember who is it who said. It's a prominent conservative woman whose name I forget, who said after the thing about Herschel Walker having paid for abortions came out, she famously said, "You look, all she cares about is control of the Senate. I don't care if he was aborting baby eagles." Sir, he was baby bald eagles, I guess she said. That makes it worse. So, which is awesome if you think about that for a second, because the implication is that that would be worse, right? Like just the structure of that sentence. I don't care if you say something that's going to be worse than the thing that he did. So apparently, in her view, aborting baby bald eagles is worse than aborting baby humans. But if you had but if there were actually an anti-abortion movement for birds, that shot would be what they would be in all their like posters and stuff, because it was luridly grotesque of this like well-advanced fertilized egg breaking on the ground.
Yeah, that one couldn't have survived outside though. That's really sad. Rest in peace, baby bald eagle chicken.
Yeah, no, I mean, every single frame in this movie is a metatext or a reference to something. So that was definitely a commentary on abortion.
Oh yeah, no doubt about that.
Birds and humans.
Eggers is famously pro-life, obviously.
Yes, I would assume so.
Everyone knows.
Yeah.
Except for babies' lives.
No, yeah, well, listen, if you have 5 kids back in the day, you're gonna lose one, just statistically speaking. It didn't make any sense.
Also, can we talk about how that is actually literally Gwyneth Paltrow's beauty treatment? That's what she does to stay young.
You're right. I did see the baby gazpacho cream on Goop once.
Yep.
They sell. It's very expensive. Now I know why. Hard to get.
She isn't the one grinding babies herself. It's outsourced.
It is totally outsourced.
Sorry, Ben.
They should unionize.
No. I'm just listening in fascination. You just keep going.
So
no, it's baby's foreskins. That's the Gwyneth treatment, I believe.
Interesting. We're getting like.
Do you have a reliable source on this?
Libel now, but that's cool.
Come at me, Gwen.
Okay. It is all fun and games till somebody loses their channel. But yeah, I'm for the record, Gwen, I'm skeptical. This doesn't sound true to me. So we'll see.
I know what
Sorry,
I'm
Ryan.
gonna be Googling.
I took a fall for that one. So am I. I'll do it for Ben.
You guys keep talking. I'm gonna Google this.
Okay, fair enough. Okay, so the dog, who's a character whose name we haven't said yet, but Fowler is the name of the dog. We should say that just before he dies. Fowler chases the devil rabbit, and Caleb goes chasing along with Fowler. Thomason gets thrown from her horse, and And then Caleb discovers a hovel from which it's basically an outdoor sort of it's got like Red Riding Hood aesthetics, but it's like basically an outdoor version of the bathtub scene from The Shining.
Oh, damn. Nice.
Like, she she looks real good out at the stoop, and then she kisses him, and you start to see the wrinkled skin and everything, and the implication is that not good things are going to happen to Caleb. And
I found it.
Jesus Christ. Okay, yeah.
I have something to read to you. Hollywood beauty trend in which stem cells cultivated and cloned from the foreskins of circumcised South Korean baby boys were injected into her face by a pen containing hundreds of microneedles.
Okay. Is this? Are you reading a 4chan post here? Like, what do we?
It seemed reputable to me.
Okay.
I think I have to admit that I've heard of that before. It's not a treatment that I've ever indulged in at the spa, nor has it ever been offered. But I'm not at that level. You know what I mean? Mani-pedi. That's enough for me.
Yeah. Okay. Well, perhaps. Wow. Okay. So,
moving on from the foreskin facial.
Moving right on from that. So
I mean, that is what the witch did, because when we see her again, she's really hot, and that's when she's hanging out with the kid. And it's like, give me a kiss.
Yeah. At least he didn't die a virgin.
Yeah, there you go. Not sure how far things went, but let's say yeah.
The apple kink is a new one, though.
Well, we'll get to the apple. But William finds Thomason in the woods, and he takes her home, and Catherine starts to angrily berate Thomason for two things that are actually William's fault, which are the cup and taking William into the woods. And notice that at this point, Thomason is not ratting him out. Right? She's just letting herself get yelled at about these things, and she will just ride it out. She's going to see where this goes. We should also say that I guess, to be fair, we skipped a really important point earlier on, which is, so I meant to do this after I rewatched the movie, but I really want transcripts of all the songs that the twins were singing.
Yeah.
Black Phillip.
Yeah.
Something about like you are we are your servants, I believe, was part of it. I remember catching that little jingle.
Yeah, I remember the servants. That definitely stood out to me.
Yeah.
I like the implication that in this, like, the most religious household in the world, these are the people who were too hardcore to stay at the Puritan colony, that the kids can sort of prance around singing songs about how they're servants of the black goat, and whatever, they're kids, nobody pays attention.
Weird.
Carry on, we'll be over here praying.
Yeah.
So they're doing that, and then there's a point where they keep on going on about Black Phillip and the things that Black Phillip the goat on their farm has been whispering to them, and it seems like maybe this is in fact what's going on, because they seem to have a lot of accurate information about what happened. Like, no, it was a witch that took Samuel, whatever. And Thomason has a moment when she's just like super irritated with the kids. They're being little brats. And she does this sort of teasing big sister thing, and she's like, "Oh, you know what? There is a witch. It's me, motherfuckers. And so you better watch out, right? And not cross me." And these are tiny little kids. They're appropriately terrified, but in a sort of very convincing little kid way where you're not sure. Like on some level, maybe they kind of get that she doesn't mean it, but they sort of don't, right? And this is going to come back and bite her in the ass in a huge way later in the movie. So we should mention that.
She did tell her brother Caleb as well to tell on her to the parents. And it's almost a pity that he didn't do that, actually, because there would have been reference,
Right.
No.
That's true.
Too loyal.
I think should also mention at some point who the actress was. Because that's what's her name from The Queen's Gambit.
Oh.
And so many things. Yeah, that must have been her first role. Anya
Taylor.
It's
Joy.
like a Game of Thrones name.
Confusing.
Brianna Joy Gray.
Yeah, Brianna Joy Gray. Do you guys all recognize Bri in this movie, right?
Yeah. Totally. Yeah.
Yeah. No, this is before she switched her focus to political commentary. But yeah. Yeah. So
this whole movie was like the force the vote debate.
Yeah. Totally. That's definitely it.
Yeah. No, that's right. Yeah. I mean, if I hadn't wanted people yelling at me to force the vote until the end of time, I shouldn't have joked that one time that I'd sold my soul to Nancy Pelosi, or they were going to take me seriously, and they were going to tell the parents. So there you have it. Not quite sure where to take that analogy, but yeah. So yeah, she does say to Caleb, right? Because Caleb is like horror, like he does say she's just kidding, but then she's like horrified at her for saying that, and then she's just having a moment where she's just sick of everybody. She's like, you know what? Tell him, fine, tell him, I don't care, right? And he doesn't. He's way too loyal for that. Yeah, I don't know if that would have been better or worse if he did, right? I mean, maybe if he had, then later in the movie, the parents would have been like, yeah, shut up with that already, right?
Yeah.
We've heard all this before. Or maybe it would have been like, oh, okay, there we go. That's what he said. I guess it must be true.
Yeah. Doesn't turn out well for anyone, regardless. So
I honestly was waiting for it to be like Puritan Home Alone, but where the kids had to like prank the goat and the hare and keep them from taking their souls.
I would love that. The witch is like running around and they like throw a bunch of stuff down the stairs. I don't know. That would be amazing, actually. That's a good follow-up. That's the Home Alone with the witch.
Definitely.
And
so William finally mans up on the cup, admits that he was the one who sold it. It's kind of too late at this point as far as Catherine's attitude towards Thomason. The damage is pretty much done, and then there's again. It looks really bad from the outside. We know that it's not, but this is like right on the edge of almost being like, man, are we just getting this unreliable narrator version of it? Because she does really seem to be at like exactly the wrong time for everything that happens, because she insists on going out to get the goat in the rain while she's outside. She sees Caleb sort of stumbling around naked, and brings him in. He's very sick, in a very mysterious way. And the twins, or Irish twins as the case might be, accuse Thomason of witchcraft At which point she does exactly no favors for her case by milking milking blood from the nanny goat as they're like, oh, you're a witch, blood. And but they they're finally they're about ready to finally accuse her to the parents. Ryan mentioned this earlier. Caleb vomits out a entire unblemished, right, totally undigested and uneaten apple, which
I want to say there was a hole in it. There was one hole in it.
One hole. I also kind of did a double take and was like, this looks like a weird apple pomegranate. But it was very Adam and Eve moment for me. Like he ate the apple of knowledge from the tree that you shouldn't touch. No, he knows too much. But I love that his jaw clenches. They have to rip it open with something, some tool. Then he chokes up this apple. And I thought that his last moments when he does join them in prayer, he's so ecstatic. And sorry to say again, I really do think that he didn't die a virgin. I think that was part of what the witch needed him for. And his ecstatic moment was almost orgasmic. And then he just dies.
Yeah, I mean, that was part of the supreme creepiness of this, that after he vomits out the apple, it's also worth mentioning that Caleb had previously told his mom, he lied and said that the reason they were out in the woods was that he thought he saw an apple tree out in the woods. And there's a point where the mom, I think, says that she really misses apples. She hasn't had one since they left England.
Okay, can I just say, though, that it sounds like something a witch would say, that having seen how Caleb dies, that he died of a greatest orgasm from a witch. That's some witch propaganda, I think.
Me? Wow. Listen, they make it worth your while, at least. I can't talk about the baby became baby cream for your face, but he had his purpose too. Haven't you seen Hocus Pocus? They need the virgin kid. That's the whole point. That's
but you think that he was coming as he died?
Well, I will say
witch sex, and then he was coming, and then
I will say this. So they do, after vomits out the apple, the twins have accused Thomason of being a witch, and then everybody joins hands they start saying the Lord's Prayer, and the twins make this show of saying they can't, that Thomason has witched away from them the ability to pray. And since everybody's a complete idiot, the parents oh my God, why did you do that? Right? Yeah. I feel they're kids, they're playing, right? The wildly dangerous way, but they basically are. And then but then then William, Catherine, and Thomason are still saying the Lord's Prayer, and Caleb starts to say it with them, but then he gets way too excited as he starts talking about how he's finding his rest in Jesus and everything. And there is I mean, that's part of what makes the scene so disturbing. There is this kind of orgasmic, the tone is very, very suggestive. Right. At the end there, it gets weird.
Yeah, definitely. I also got that vibe from, I think her name was Catherine, the mother, right?
Yeah.
She's confessing to her husband about having her heart turned to stone, and she's recalling this dream, or Jesus coming to her and ravishing her more than a husband. And there was also super sexual undertones there. She was like, ever since I lost the baby, you can't have me. And Jesus doesn't even get me off anymore. Something's wrong. I feel it in my heart.
Yeah, she does use the word ravishing to talk about Jesus and that, and then William just kind of decides to let that pass by, and he's not going to comment on that part. And he's like, I don't know, you'll be happy again in heaven. Let's just move on from this conversation.
Yeah.
All I know is it sounds like you guys have not been to many Pentecostal revival services, because that was like, okay, if we're gonna do a 1 to 10 in like Pentecostal revival meetings, that was like a 7.
Wow.
I've been to an 8.
Oh, that sounds steamy, man.
And every single person in the entire congregation fell to the ground. That's an 8.
Incredible. Were there snakes involved?
No,
that's a 9.
What there were, believe it or not, are women with baskets that had red blankets. And what they did was when women would fall, they would want them to seem decent and no young man look at their under their skirts. So they would lay the sheet over them as they fell to the ground.
The modesty blanket. That's nice.
Yes.
Good call.
It was the modesty blanket. Yeah.
I like it. So Caleb has his anything I've ever been familiar with, I don't know, 25, but apparently it's a Pentecostal 8, and or 7, I guess 7. Sorry, and then he falls down dead, and Catherine tells her daughter to be gone. Thomason runs outside. And William follows her, and at first is very, first it just seems, like he's just comforting her in a totally normal way. And then he's like, okay, but like, this is starting to seem like you're a witch. Are you a witch? You can tell me if you're a witch, but like, come on, you're a witch, right?
Yeah. I don't know. He said something weird about the tree. He was like, it's gonna be so pretty in the spring, but you're a witch, right? Oh.
I mean, that was just good parenting, because it's hard to lead with "Are you a witch?"
It's true. He needed a segue, but she was like, "What are you talking about? Those little twins? They're clearly the witches. They talk to a goat all day long. How have you been missing that?"
They're literally singing about how they're servants of the goat.
Yeah.
No, nothing. It's just me. Okay.
You're like, whatever, kid. Go back to playing outside. I don't know. It's really weird to throw your little witch siblings under the bus like that just to save yourself.
Yeah.
Okay, but to be fair, when we were little kids, we sang some weird shit too, like on top of all smoky, all covered with blood, I shot my poor teacher. That whole thing.
That's a version I've not heard before, but it falls, squarely with the ones that I have, more or less. Okay. Minus the teacher shooting, but
it was the early 90s.
This is
pre-Columbine. Kids' songs were like fucking nuts. It was like Cannibal Corpse.
I knew like the ones that you do with all of the hand claps, like, milk, lemonade. This is where the chocolate's made. That kind of thing. Classic.
No, there were like songs about incest and stuff. Like, yeah.
Where did you grow up?
Central Illinois.
Right? Okay.
Right here, right back here.
Right there here. in that
right back here in these woods.
Clearing.
All right, that's starting to come together.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like kind of the sequence is, well, actually, I guess I don't totally remember the order here, because they're outside, rain, and he's like, oh, the tree's so pretty, you're a witch, right? Admit you're a witch. And he's very it's like a weird, like, part of the whole thing about this guy is always that, like, there are times he's like very emotional and human, but there are also times in which he is just like the world's biggest Calvinist theology robot. And it's like, I don't know, maybe your baby brother is in hell. Let's not be presumptuous and rule it out. And it's like very much like that here. He's like, well, technically the contract you made with Satan is not binding. You still have a chance, you can actually get out of this with Jesus. So,
again, though, I feel like he was being a realistic dude, preparing them for the miseries of the world. Because here's the thing. What was the best case scenario of them living there? I mean, we saw like basically the worst, but what was the best?
That's a really good question. They had corn, just with more corn. I think that's the only difference, basically.
Yeah, no, there's a scenario where the corn wasn't rotted away, and they, everybody got to live to be 30 or so.
Yeah,
I don't
he
know.
probably fancied himself like an offshoot cult leader.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what he had coming. He's like, one of these days, my wife and children will respect me, and then I'll get a few apostles, maybe hang out in a cave. I don't know, resurrection. He seemed to like fancy himself a bit of a prophet of sorts. Pity that. It's the hubris every time.
I think that's probably right. Like I could see him. I mean, there is a point where in all this where he's desperate enough. He's like, fine. Hell with it. I'm going to go back to the plantation and we'll get a doctor and whatever. But it definitely seemed like plan A. I mean, I assume it wasn't just going to be them by themselves forever.
They're doing the 1640s version of van life. Because like, dude.
Okay. But he was going to be a 1640s version of a van life influencer.
Yes.
So it's not just him and his van. There's also the Instagrammer in this metaphor, right? There's like the other people who start trickling out of the colony, and they have various disputes in the future. And you can start to gather a following.
Yeah, because he's going to be like, this is great. We're going to document all this cool shit we're going to do in the woods. We're going to have a new Calvinist cult. It's going to be great. Just like in van life, people are out there 6 months, like showing their best moments and not showing the fact they're having to like shit behind a Walmart at 2 a.m.
Yeah. And his Instagram, like every third post would just be him chopping wood.
Yes. Shirtless.
Yeah. Chopping some wood for the family, thinking about Jesus, like another great day.
Oh, looking for a silver chalice to bring my wife.
Me.
Open to
maybe he even is doing this like devotional thing where he's on a piece of wood.
No, but he does this one, which is so nice. I love that. Next time someone asks me to pray like at dinner, which doesn't happen often, but I'm open, I guess, to that being a thing. I'm just gonna like put my hands up in the air. Be like,
dude, that would be so good for TikTok.
For TikTok.
Yeah.
Exactly. The new TikTok challenge. Meet your family in prayer, sink to your knees. I'll do that, or if I'm not feeling it, I'll just like bowl over and be like, I forgot the words. I can't do it.
Oh no.
Those kids. I have to hand it to them. They were great little actors. Those little
for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
No, I was excited when the witch disappeared them. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to jump ahead here.
It's cool, but yeah. Okay, so and we should say, so after William does his whole, okay, you're a witch, admit you're a witch, it's cool. I'm not even gonna be mad. Just tell me you're a witch. And what she does that like really pulls him over the edge is that she's, he's like, come on, just tell me the truth about being a witch. Tell me the truth. He's like, and she's like, okay. You want me to start telling you some true things? And then, here's just, none of this really has anything to do with witchcraft, but here's a thing here's like a bunch of the stuff that sucks about you that like I've been holding back on.
It was the Tom Cruise, you can't handle the truth moment.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, what daughter doesn't want to call her father a hypocrite? Like, you make me take all of these lies. You knew about, there was no apple, there's no chalice. Oh yeah, she also says like, you're totally cucked, like mom is in control of you, which was great. That must have been just stake in the heart for him. And he's like, screw it. I'm just going to lock all of you guys up for the night. I can't deal with
Yeah,
this.
that's what drives him over the edge to that, which is like, yeah, you let mom walk all over you. You can't farm for shit. You know,
Yeah.
you're like, I'm like, you make me cover for you with all these like petty lies. And it's like,
You
okay,
have a scary voice.
okay.
That was my favorite thing about him.
His voice is so scary.
And it's like, okay.
Thomason.
That's
Like,
weird.
okay, I'm done with all the kids. All the remaining living children are just going to be locked into the barn until we figure out what's going on.
With the goat. He's like, you guys
Yeah,
figure
with
it out.
the possibly satanic goat who has already been suggested to me.
Yeah.
Like, he's already taken this seriously that the goat might be the devil. And he's like, well, yeah, maybe. Okay, whatever. I'm going to lock you up there with him, and we'll just sort all this out later. You know, but he did. The twins, the Satan goat, we're just going to like put them all together in the barn, and I'm just going to like take 5 on this.
Yeah.
He did have a stated rationale for that. He said, the goat didn't come at me, so bitch is clean until I see it.
Until it did. Yeah. Didn't work
Yeah.
out. Yeah, that's really weird. I forgot about what happened in that scene until I, rewatched it today. And I'm like, why is he just putting her out there alone? But then you see the twins are in there too, and they're like cuddled together the whole night. But I loved, there was that little bit of dialogue between the 3 of them. They're just asking each other questions, are you really a witch? There's like, do you actually talk to that goat? Like, what's going on here?
And crucially, in that exchange, when they ask her, are you really a witch? She's like, no. And when she says, so do you really talk to Black Phillip? They don't answer.
Yeah. Yeah, she asks like one of them is like, does father think I am? Which is a funny question as well. Like, is my cover blown? Everyone knows. You go and sing about being a servant to a black goat and say that he tells you things like your cover was blown long ago, but just no one took it seriously. Really weird.
Yeah. So William breaks down overnight. Thomason sees this from the barn that William is just out there in the yard, like just praying in a very heartfelt way, really, rolling in the deep about his his many sinful character traits and how he really just left the colony out of pridefulness. And then later in the night, the children wake up to see the witch drinking blood from the nanny goat, which turns to attack the twins. Meanwhile, Catherine has a vision of Caleb holding the baby.
The chalice is on the bedside too. That was the first thing I noted in that scene. I was like, oh, something is amiss. Or not missing anymore. Definitely. And why is he whispering? That's the Satan sound, right?
Yeah, it's the Black Phillip voice. It's
Just
like
not
the
to wake Dad up.
combination.
Yeah.
Well, because
I brought this book. Check out this book while you're breastfeeding a crow.
By the way, I joined a book club.
Like, do you want to sign my book? Yeah, come on, Mom. We're good here. Sign the book.
I'm collecting signatures. It's a yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So William wakes up and he finds that the barn has been destroyed. The goats, except for Black Phillip, have been eviscerated. The twins are missing. Thomason, again, from the outside, everything always looks real bad for Thomason. She's, in this case, lying totally unharmed, but with bloody hands. So not the best, most innocent look. But he doesn't really have time to do anything because Black Phillip comes up and gores him to death.
Yeah. He grabs the axe. He could have axed Black Thomas, whatever. Yeah.
Black Phillip for sure.
Black Thomason, the Dark Thomason. No, but instead, he has to open his mouth and say something, and then it just covered in all of the wood that he's been chopping for the whole film. It was probably the most like obvious subtext come to the screen that whole time. I enjoyed that scene. But yeah, I don't know. I think I would have just chopped. Not sure that it would have done much, but you could have maybe saved the living people in your family at that point. Nah.
I mean, I'm trying to recall any time I've been gored by a horned animal. I can't, but it seems like it would be rough. That goat had some force behind it.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. Can they do that? Like, can you really be goaded to death? Is that a thing?
I don't know. Is there any shepherds in the comments?
Yeah, can someone please look this up? Number of goat-related deaths annually.
I was thinking. Yeah.
Let me see what Gwyneth Paltrow has to say about this.
Also funny to say that. So remember that the official explanation for what happened to baby Samuel was a wolf, which related to the shepherd thing. I mean, it is a little like I don't know. I was thinking about this last week because I was when I was still in LA after the live show. I was talking to my brother, and there was a point where we were talking about different kinds of movies. He was like, "Oh, how about like werewolf movies?" It's like there really aren't any good werewolf movies. And I started thinking about it. It's like part of the problem with the whole werewolf thing is like every movie and TV show with werewolves in it, they don't actually turn into wolves. They turn into these like weird like gorilla things with vaguely wolfy heads.
Yeah.
And it seems like part of the reason for that is like, okay, it's 1630s, sure, wolves were scary. They might, they might eat your goat. But like, you're come out of the woods and get your unattended baby, I guess. But
very quietly.
Very quietly.
Yes.
Wolves are sneaky like that. But like 2022, like you kind of have to do something else with that because we don't actually find wolves that scary. It's like, oh, that's like a big dog.
Yeah. I've seen so many coyote. They're like kind of scary dogs. You don't want to touch them, but
Sure.
They don't look like they're going to screw with you too much.
Yeah.
2010. That is the last recorded goat killing.
Okay, but it does happen.
Yeah, killed a hiker in the mountains. 63-year-old, a mountain goat.
He had really soft skin. That's got to be it. I feel goat resistant still in my youth.
Again, sounds like something a witch would say.
So Catherine at this point, I mean, I guess she must not have signed Satan's book, but whatever. She's but there was some breastfeeding of a crow. Like she's been through some shit. She's not in her right mind at this point at all.
Okay, can we talk real quick about how weird it is that actress has had 2 scenes involving breastfeeding that are super fucking weird?
Was the first one weird?
Yeah, Game of Thrones.
Oh, I thought you meant in the movie. I was like, what's wrong? She was just normally breastfeeding in the beginning. You're like, I don't want to see it. I don't want to know about it. It's really weird.
No,
okay, who did
yeah, she was like nursing a like 10-year-old. It was like the same age of Caleb.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't watched much of that.
I'm just saying it's interesting that she's had so many like very strange breastfeeding scenes.
It's in every writer she does. She's like, I need at least one breastfeeding scene.
Yeah. That's right.
Hopefully off-putting.
It's like, yeah, it needs to be weird. Yeah, at least one of them needs to be weird. You can throw in like a normal breastfeeding for the juxtaposition. No, I love that scene though. Like she's sitting there holding the red cloak, right, of the witch, which is empty. and she's got a raven perched on her arm, nipping at her nip. And then you're like, okay, well, this was all imagined. But she still wakes up the next morning and has the blood on the front of her tunic. So the witch was there. How did she get her cloak in the room? As a hair?
The tunic blood thing was a disturbing beat. So yeah, Catherine has completely lost it, and she, accuses her of being responsible for everything that happens, and she attacked her, and Thomason, who we should say, well, again, timing of a lot of this is suspicious, so there is the unreliable narrative reading of this movie, but as far as we know, Thomason hadn't actually done anything, very bad at all over the course of the entire movie. I mean, she did what's the worst thing she did is like, she fucked with her siblings by telling them like a scary story. Like that's about it.
She confessed to playing on the Sabbath.
That's right. Yeah. When she's praying at the beginning, she confesses to God that she secretly played on the Sabbath.
Sinner.
Isn't it amazing though that there's the whole thing about a scapegoat, and she was trying to scapegoat the goat, but it turns out she was the scapegoat.
Makes you think.
Love that.
But at this point, her mom really seems like she's going to kill her, and so Thomason ends up killing her own mother in a fairly brutal way in self-defense.
Castle doctrine.
I don't know.
Yeah, she got her on the forehead at first, and you'd think that the mom would be like, all right, maybe I'll... But she's like, no, I'm just going to strangle you to death now. A few more whacks.
I'm just saying they had stand your ground laws in Puritan England, America.
Lie on your floor. Yeah. Struggle with your mother.
Yeah. And this having, the twins have disappeared. Presumably they've signed the book, but who knows? But the twins are nowhere to be seen. Her parents are both dead.
It was weird that she asked her mom first before she died, "Where's Nancy?"
There you go. And then her, two of her brothers are dead. She's just literally had to, hack her mom to death because she was put in that situation. She has reached the point where she is willing to look into this whole Black Phillip thing and see what there might be for her in that option. So she goes in the barn and she's
most of the time women do that. They usually have to go to a liberal arts college.
There you go.
So it's cool that she was able to just go to the barn. Less student debt.
There's for sure a liberal arts college like now. Exactly where that happened.
Yeah.
That's how they're founded.
Yeah.
As far as I know, as a maybe.
Oh, there's blood packs on all the Ivy Leagues.
Oh yeah. No, I'm thinking more like Swarthmore, Barnard.
Yeah. So she goes out to the bar. She's like, "Okay, Black Phillip, what about it? Are you the devil? Because if you are, I'm ready to talk."
Do you speak English? I love that part. That's so good.
Yeah, that, like after she's been talking at Black Phillip for a minute and nothing, like before just being like, fuck, I guess he's just a goat after all. Like her last resort is like, maybe we have a language barrier. Do you understand my English tongue?
Exactly. Yeah. Should I try?
To be fair, they were speaking in like, what was it? Middle English?
Yeah.
Oldish to Middle English?
Well, yeah, it's not old, but yeah. It's, yeah.
Oh, yeah, witch.
So
There were a few iambs in there, yeah, definitely.
yeah, exactly. So after they're out there, and then after she says the thing about the English tongue, Black Phillip, who turns into a dude, you see some boots walking around. He is like, what do you like?
Again, this was commentary, but this time it was about drag queen story hour.
There we go.
Definitely.
There we go. No
The
doubt.
boots, the black glove, no
Yeah.
doubt. Well spotted.
Yeah.
And this is about liberals coming to the liberal arts school and make your little girl do drag queen story hour.
Which is weird, because you'd think the kinds of, I think the enticements have got to be different, though, because I think the average young woman going off to the liberal arts college has already tasted butter and worn a pretty dress. So these are not new experiences. I guess they need to start with
for the working class rural people. I don't know.
Wouldst thou live deliciously?
Yeah.
Has to
World
be the
girl. I love that. What dost thou want? And she's like, I want to get out of here because it sucks. Please take me back to society. He's like, I got a coven for you. You can float. It's going to be great.
I think it's awesome that he gave her the power to be really good at chess later on. And she's
like, I'm illiterate. And he's like, of course you are. Don't worry. Just go like this.
Yeah, that is more is
and he's like, Slytherin.
His sorting hat. Totally.
Yeah. He'll guide her hand because she doesn't even know how to write her own name. She's certainly never tasted butter, but he is prepared to take care of all that and show her the world. And then they
go to Brooklyn.
She signs. Yeah, exactly.
Take off your clothes.
yes, take off your shift. And I was like, okay. And then she signs the book, and then she goes out into the woods where there's a witch's Sabbath going on.
It's the Verso Loft.
More or less, yeah. So she goes out to the Verso Loft, and they're I don't know, doing some devilly equivalent of speaking in tongues, and everybody's naked. They're dancing around a fire. They're floating in the air. She starts floating in the air, and she has a reaction to it that I guess would be what, like a Pentecostal 3.5.
I mean, that whole scene, I would give that more of a 8.5, maybe a 9. Okay. I've seen a 9.5.
There were not enough modesty blankets in the vicinity for those women, but
yeah,
I thought that they probably sacrificed the twins if they were all floating around, because it kind of mirrors that first scene with the witch who killed the baby Samuel and then flies up to the moon.
That's a good point.
Yeah. Just from my witch's manual, this is how it goes.
Yeah, like I recognize the formation of
exactly.
There were 4 in this pentagram pattern.
Something like that. Yeah. The mom kept talking the whole movie about how things are like, something is unnatural, this isn't natural, and it's like, they're naturalists. Like, look at them. They live in the woods. They're naked. They're just eating what they find.
Well, what's the I might be getting my wires crossed because this is based on like 4.5 tweets I've seen about this. Didn't actually follow it, but the guy who attacked Paul Pelosi, wasn't there a thing about how he used to be this like sort of lefty hippie, but anti-vax kind of guy, and he turned into a super right-wing guy, which is like, I have to say, doesn't actually strike me as like the hardest shift to understand in the world.
No, I have an old friend, my friend's ex, who like went into the Kentucky woods for like 15 years and like was the biggest lib you've ever met, but then got like super natural cures and stuff. And she became like QAnon anti-vaxxer and now sells her own snake oil on Etsy.
Literal snake oil?
It's not literal snake oil. That's
Okay.
that's Caroline Calloway's perfume, but yeah, that's there is a pipeline there.
Definitely. I saw all sorts of this kind of stuff during COVID with like yoga communities. They were like, we don't want to do masking or vaxing and namaste, but also 5G is going to change your behavior and control your children. And it's all a Jewish cabal. So
I'm 95% sure Gwyneth Paltrow did not take the vax.
Yeah, no.
I mean, I'll
Probably
defer
not.
to your expertise about Gwyneth Paltrow. It's already been established, but yeah, no. I mean, I'm sure. Right? But this is like back in like 2012. Like anti-vaxxerism was like the dumb leftist position. I mean, this is like as late as like as late as 2016. That was a sort of micro scandal about Jill Stein saying some things that were like a little ambiguous about that. And by 2016, everybody was slamming her for that. But if you go back to like 2008, you can find like Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama saying things that are like just a little bit pandering to anti-vax people. Like, yeah, there's some questions.
There's some I can totally hear that in Barack Obama's voice too. You know, you got to pander when you got to pander in an election year. They're like, be careful what you put into your body. He used to be a smoker as well. It can't really be like much of a authority on any of these things. Your body, your choice.
Yeah. Very. Well, he was he was a smoker, and he was also a very enthusiastic pot smoker back in the day. There's some fun stories about Obama, and with that. But yeah, I mean, I think like it's not. Yeah, I mean that doesn't seem like. I mean, yeah, if you're a sort of like back to nature weirdo, that's I think that pipeline is like actually pretty easy to understand.
Definitely. Let's bear in mind that this is San Francisco as well. You have your fair share of types up there. And ultimately, you just have to find yourself on 4chan long enough. This is what happens.
Right.
So sad. But he must have been really weak. Like maybe he was a vegan or something, because it didn't seem like he managed to do much damage to a very old man.
Yeah, yeah, could be some protein deficiency there.
That's it. He didn't take his B12 that day. Oh well.
There you go. Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I will just say I'm going to be. I don't want to say this in a weird way, because like I know there are lots of like conspiracy theories flying around about this that are like crazy and almost certainly false, but like also like, man, I'm going to be fascinated when we get the whole like sort of beginning to end timeline of exactly what actually happened here, because right now that is very unclear to me.
Yeah, it must have been a weird struggle. But there's supposed to be footage, right? Like CCTV. There's going to be like 5 different Netflix documentary series about this soon enough. I'm sure we'll get the whole story.
Do we know if he was in his underwear?
That's a good question.
That's a super interesting detail if he was.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot of, again, I don't want to, I know very little about this. I don't want to just start to talking about it as if I do, but like, from what little I saw, there's a lot that seems very unclear about how this went down. Like,
so you're saying it was a false flag, and this is a crisis actor, right? Just to be clear.
I'm saying that not only the attacker, but also Paul Pelosi and Nancy Pelosi are all crisis actors and have been for the last several decades. That there's there have been like 10 different Paul Pelosi's who have been substituted in over the decades.
Definitely.
There has been like one lizard person who's been consistently playing Nancy Pelosi.
That's when she stopped being a progressive. It started being a lizard person.
That's right.
That's what AOC has in her future.
To show my support of Paul Pelosi, tomorrow I plan to do $1 billion of stock trades.
That's good. That's what he would have done.
That's beautiful. Yeah, you do that.
Yeah. But yeah, no, it's a good. You know, to go back to Jordan's dad who didn't get it. That's you know, it seems like. I mean, I should say somebody said in the chat, and I think I saw this independently, that there's quite a bit of stuff in the dialogue from this movie that's taken straight from like Puritan diaries and court records and, you know, and stuff like that. But, you know, this is, this is a version of it where, you know, the devil seems to have a point.
It was the utilitarian choice. She's like, look at what all of this like praying got us, you know, God, Jesus, whatever. Like, all you have to do is make a deal with the devil. He'll give you butter, a pretty dress, you can float. That was like the third time that she smiled the whole movie as well. Like, things are looking up. I co-sign.
No, sorry, Miss Witch. Here's my take. Yeah. It looks cool for a while when you're floating. You got a nice campfire, probably some s'mores. But then you're sentenced to like find babies and break their penises and drink it. And you live in the woods. And it's still 1640s New England. What else? What do you do?
Yeah, your options are still kind of limited. I was thinking about that too with the COVID. I'm like, do all of these people just like follow the same sort of fate? They got banished from their communities and started a sorority or something? Is that what happened?
Well, this is I mean, that was kind of a fun moment there. It's like, okay, they're all out in the woods, and granted, there's floating, and God knows, you know, maybe there's, maybe they're coming from more dispersed locations than it seems like, but it is fun to think that it just a series of like families that ended up, you know, trying to homestead on their own out in the woods, and like these are the remnants of all of them. You know, the witch's Sabbath is like the one person from each who survived because they signed Satan's book.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, this isn't modern Brooklyn where you can, you know, your coven goes to like the craft beer bar and, you know, tender guys that are into Wiccan. Like, this looks like a pretty lonely Look, I'm back here. There's really lonely witches right here behind me.
Okay, well,
you're not
I don't
allowed
want
to
to away
join
from
them.
them, so that's we'll probably cut it off right there. We should say that people can. Well, actually, where can people find your work?
They can find it mostly in Jacobin. Just here and there. I'm doing a piece for Compact about Stacey Abrams that's going to get me canceled this next week.
Wow.
Good luck with that. You could just go for Gwyneth Paltrow afterward.
Yeah, I'm glad you got in a GTAA appearance before that happened. So, yeah. So people should check out Ryan in mostly Jacobin.
Also, my Substack is Third Rail.
Yes.
Third Rail magazine.
Yes. And Jordan,
tell us about your coven.
My coven, my coven is like still kind of under wraps, but we're looking for an early spring launch, you know, in time for the equinox. And
don't you want to call it like a co-working space?
Yeah, it's exactly what it is, right? But female only. I'm really sorry.
Sure.
Those are the rules. I didn't write them. I just signed the book, you know.
Right. Yeah.
No, wait, we were supposed to let Jordan actually plug something.
Oh yeah.
Nothing really to plug. You can see me at the next Give Them a Revolution show, maybe.
Which I
when that
believe
happens.
is going to be late January in New York. We're still waiting for. We do have a possible date, but we're still waiting for confirmation from a few people that they can make that work. But I am really hoping that works out for New York in January. I should also, if you want to experience Jordan's previous work from LA last Sunday, there's no there's no video of it. The actual appearance of it all is, other than a couple hundred pictures people took.
So you're saying if people want to find Jordan, they can't actually do it?
That's kind of like my thing. I like being mysterious. Sometimes I tweet. You can look for my name. I'm an as of yet unpublished poet, but maybe within the next year you'll have a collection out to read. And I'm generally hireable, so hit me up. All right.
Yeah, there you go. But yeah, there is no video.
You want to get hired as a poet?
Just commissions.
Okay.
Coven-based commissions would be great. Share me with your coven.
Fair enough. But the audio from last Sunday in LA is going to be released for patrons sometime in the next few days. So if you are now not yet a GTAA patron, this is a good time to do that. Also get the post games after every regular Monday episode, access to the Discord server, and much more. Most importantly, our love and gratitude for keeping this thing going. And yeah, do be on the lookout for the announcement about the New York show whenever that is all nailed down for sure. The one in LA was a blast. You can meet Jordan there. You can read Ryan's stuff regularly. I know he doesn't understand the difference between old, middle, and modern English, but we're working on it.
Wait, by the way, are we going to stop without talking about whether we actually believe in predestination? I was here for some theological arguments about Calvinism.
Oh, please.
Are you one of the elect?
My understanding is I don't know.
Cop out. It's all in God's plan.
Yeah, it's God's plan, man. What are you gonna do? I mean, I would assume no. I think that there are many ways that I don't seem to be one of the elect, but yeah.
All right.
God moves in mysterious ways.
Jordan?
I generally unelectable. I think that's why I never pursued a career in politics like my mom wanted. But yeah, like I said, a chosen person already. We don't really believe in like the whole hell shtick, but witchcraft is all over the Bible, something you're not supposed to do, which means that it existed. Yeah. Also, maybe Jesus was a magician more than anything else. That's going to be my final contentious statement here.
Okay. Ryan?
Jesus is magic.
Exactly. Thank you, Sarah Silverman.
Ryan, elect, not elect?
No. No, Calvinism is hardcore because, again, it's God already has like 144,000 people picked. And if you're not in, you're screwed. It's a very low percentage.
Yeah.
Those are not good numbers, but you have to you just have to keep grinding and just keep that attitude where you hold out the possibility in your mind that you are one of the elect.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, who was elected tonight is fucking Lula da Silva. That's awesome. I'm jazzed. We're going to end the episode on that note. Left is best.